Hello, and welcome back to your friendly neighborhood. I'm your host, Darcy7, and things are getting fun and spicy in the studio today. What I originally said was going to be a solo episode now has a very special guest.
Hello.
Should we test him on his ability to do my introduction? Let's go, Glenn.
Yeah, okay. So we've got the movers, the makers, the shakers.
Come on, the girls can do it.
I know. The
business owners.
The business owners.
The creators.
The creators.
And the innovators.
And the innovators of your small town.
Way to go.
Kingston?
Whatever your
and
small town is.
area.
Yeah. So I am going to prep you all tuning in. If you don't know, I've brought my boyfriend to work today and Glenn is going to interview me. But last minute change of plans. We've got to keep the people happy. And there were a ton of questions submitted for you.
Of course.
So sit back, relax, get your tea, get your glass of wine, get your Cheetos, your cake, or your charcuterie, and listen up to what we expect to be a fun and juicy episode, diving into that juncture between business and personal.
Okay. Well, I've spent some time and I've compiled a bunch of questions for you to answer.
Okay.
Honestly, majority of them come from Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I might have a few of my own along the way. So, and I guess firstly, 7. Everybody asks about the 7. I know I did.
You did. So Darcy7, that's my personal Instagram handle. That's how I introduce myself as your host. And super cute. I have to back up for a second. Realized the other day, my first name's Darcy, middle name is 7, so it's not my last name. Glenn's first name is actually hyphenated and it's Glenn Evan. So Darcy7 and Glenn Evan is pretty cute. So the 7 actually was a name that my dad picked for me, and he knew that he wanted his firstborn to have the name 7 included in their name in some way. I think he really wanted it to be my first name, and my mom said absolutely not. He was a deep sea diver, got a record of a 700-foot dive, something along those lines.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So that's where it comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah. What
Okay.
else you got for me?
Well, I guess you are the owner of the Cheesy Pear.
I am.
I mean, you obviously had a partner prior to her moving away, but I guess the question is, what inspired you to start the business, and how did that passion turn into this business venture of you starting a podcast?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a unique start because it's not like I was super passionate about cheese, even though a lot of people think that I am.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I was actually allergic to dairy products most of my life. I've kind of grown out of that, but I didn't even like cheese for a really long time. So it's not really like that I'm super passionate about cheese. It's that I'm super passionate about being creative. And it was like 2020, I believe, right in the middle of the pandemic. I am from Peterborough, and my sisters ordered me a charcuterie from a local charcuterie maker there. Shout out to Nibble and Graze. I don't think she's doing it anymore right now, but they did order me a box from her. We had it as like a little picnic down by the water. I loved it. I had kind of been looking into that stuff already, and was like, Kingston doesn't have this right now, and maybe that's something we can do. So my best friend, Alicia, I kind of chatted with her. We were both on mat leave at the same time. And I was like, is this something you'd want to try out? And maybe it would just be fun, but like, let's see what we can do. So that's kind of how it started. She was there that weekend for my birthday, and we were like laying on the couch, bouncing ideas off of each other for business names. And we had, I'm trying to think we did a lot of the like, which I love. So there's like a couple local business owners like Love and Exposure and Love and Wild, like photography and stuff like that. And I love the so I think we were like, I'm trying to think what some of them were, like Brie and Pear and like those kind of combinations.
Those were the ones you were running with before.
Yeah. And so we were like throwing that out. So somehow Pear came up, and then we were like, I don't know, different like cheese and pear. And then it just kind of like the pun sort of came. So the cheesy pear
you're pairing cheese with other food items.
Yeah.
The pair of you two.
And then like the play on words obviously is like the actual fruit pear versus like the pair of us, which is kind of where the logo comes from and all of that. Glenn has met us together, Alicia and I, and we are pretty cheesy. So it kind of suits. Sure. So that's really where it came from. And then Alicia moved away. She moved with her family to the West Coast, and it's kind of been a solo thing since. Haven't changed the name. Don't think I'm going to. I still kind of like it. We'll see what happens. And this whole business, as everybody knows, has really like my love of community has really come into this, the small business community, and that's kind of where the podcast came from. Yeah,
it's awesome. I mean, obviously I kind of see it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't obviously know everything that goes on inside your brain.
No, but you kind of get to see it working.
But yeah, I don't know. Okay. Well, I guess we'll move on from there. So the question here is, what was it like creating your first charcuterie board, whether it was just practice or for sale?
Okay, this one's kind of funny because, like I said, this wasn't like the actual charcuterie like field is not something that I was super passionate about.
Yeah. How do you get passionate about?
Yeah, like there are people that are super, you know, like sommeliers, like wine people, like just love wine, and that's like a passion of theirs, and then they learn about it and then they teach about it.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that is like super passionate about cheese, super passionate about cured meat. Truthfully, I don't actually know that much about it. Sometimes I do have people ask me like, "Oh, where's this meat or this cheese from, and how aged is it, and what one does it pair well with?" And like, I don't really know.
15 years from the hills of Italy.
Something like that. Sometimes I can fake it, but no, I truthfully don't know that much about it. So the first one I think also actually was at my parents', and Alicia and I'm trying to remember if we were in the same place. I think we were. And we both had a board, and we're like, let's just do it and see what they look like at the end. I've mentioned this before. Alicia was like freaking out because creativity is not her like natural realm. And she's like, mine's going to suck. Like yours is going to be so good. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. And we finished and both were like, okay, I liked that on yours. I liked this on mine. We need to do this. That looks like crap. Like, and kind of went with it. And then we came back to Kingston. We did a really big board. It's actually still one of my favorites because it was like a family picnic style board, and we had like a big watermelon on it. And it's still one that I think is really pretty. And we just had a picnic with like all our friends that all have kids. And so that was like our first practice one, and then started selling after that. I honestly find it a little bit cringy to go back and look at some of our first boards because they're not
That's what I was just thinking.
Very good at all. Not to mention food photography is so challenging, and getting good pictures of food, especially I find this kind of food where like the meat almost always pulls really red in photos, which I don't think looks good. So we were putting this like certain filter on it at the beginning, which like now going back, I really don't love, but I've also mentioned that in another episode. I kind of love that transition. Like I kind of love looking at where we started and where we are now. Yeah.
So how would you say that first big charcuterie board looked?
Good. The first one, that picnic one, was really good.
Other ones were
the boxes and stuff going like, because that one I guess was a combo, so it had like a lot of fruit, and like it was really kid oriented, so it was like pretty cute. We had a lot of like cutouts, that kind of thing. But like our classic charcuterie at the beginning definitely wasn't as good as it is now, aesthetically.
Pleasing, yeah. I mean, in my mind, I just throw things on a plate, trying to make it look square, as opposed to like, you know, randomly disperse.
I'm gonna be a little bit like gender biased here, and guys don't get it. Guys don't get the charcuterie. They're like, I can open the package, put it on a plate, and eat it. And I am all about pretty things, and I love pretty things.
It's like the yogurt bowls.
Did I make you?
Holy smokes! I don't get it.
Yeah.
Let's separate the yogurt bowls into sections when they're just going to mix it up.
But how pretty does it look when I hand it to you?
Personally,
beautiful.
Yeah, it looks good, but it's just not practical. For the purpose.
I'm all about pretty, Glenn.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. So I guess since you started this podcast, I've obviously listened to it.
Yeah, you've been very supportive.
Yeah, you think I'm a little behind on it?
I think you are a little behind.
I missed the most
two
recent
episodes.
ones. Yes.
I know where you're at.
I haven't been driving anywhere lately, so I haven't been listening to it. But
I am on YouTube too. You could sit on the couch and watch me.
There's other things that I like to watch on YouTube. So
all right. Rude.
Anyway, obviously people know that you have a big love for the small community and the business with small businesses within the community.
Yeah.
And the whole competition, I guess, within the community.
Just like that whole community over competition. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you always been like that?
No.
Passionate about it?
No.
Interested? No.
No. And it was like a really big lesson for me. I actually have like two kind of stories that fit into this really well, that I was reflecting on a little bit over the last week. So my love of like the small business community, and then the whole community over competition thing. And like, do I really believe that? Why do I believe that? Two pieces. First, I have to shout out my friend, Katie Guerra. When I moved to Kingston, I was 23. I was going to the gym regularly. And there was this blonde girl that I thought was so beautiful. And she would walk into the gym with a whole group of guys, like 10 guys and Katie. And I instantly was like, who is that girl? And I was like, I could never talk to her. Like, she was just so cool to me. And like, that was just not, I couldn't do that.
But what was cool?
She just like was hanging out with all the boys, and she was like bleach blonde and great, just a great, good looking girl. And I was like, oh gosh. And I ended up going on a date with one of the guys, and he mentioned to me, it is the father of my children.
Even better.
And he mentioned to me like, oh, my good friend Katie always talks about how she thinks you're really pretty, and she calls you Ariel because you have red hair. And I was like, oh, like she talks about me? And he was like, yeah, like so cool. She's mentioned you. And I was just like, oh, okay. So then after that, she came up to me at the gym and started talking to me, and it was just like zero competition, zero like cattiness,
just for
like,
the girls, right?
Totally for the girls. And I feel like she was the first girl in my life that taught me that girls don't have to compete. And I think that maybe that's something like men don't really understand, but I think girls are really raised to be competitive, and competitive in really weird ways. Like who looks better, who's getting more attention, who's better at this, who's better at that. Like, and we're like not supposed to really like each other. Girls talk behind girls' backs, like girls backstab, all of that kind of stuff. And I just think Katie was the first person that ever really taught me, like, you don't have to, and we can literally all be friends. And that's one of those like lessons that is so pivotal in my life. I go back to it so many times, and I really feel like from that moment forward, I believe that and like embody that now, where I'm like, I don't feel the need to compete with other women.
Do you think that was like, she was an important piece of that because she was a girl that you looked up to, and in that sense of like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, she's cool, the boys love her, and maybe that's something like you were internally like trying to get where you wanted to be, and like that's, I don't know if it's where I wanted to be. If it came from somebody else, would it have meant less?
I don't know. I think that I had a judgment of her. I assumed she was like your classic mean girl, like like what I grew up being envious of or worried about or nervous of. She embodied that. And then when I found out that she was actually just super friendly, and not even just friendly, but that like, it was so genuine. There was no competition. It was, and I think that was the first time I've like really been exposed to that in my life, and believed it. Like, it wasn't that fake. There was nothing fake about it. And
like she turns around and all of a sudden is talking
and we're like, we've been friends for 11 years now, and I still believe that about her, and it's something that I will like always value about our friendship, is that was a huge lesson for me. So the next piece, so shout out to Katie. Thank you for that. The next piece is the community over competition piece. So like kind of ties in, because I really think it's like women to women, that competition can be really challenging. I had like a little woodworking business for a while called Tree Treasures. I was like painting signs, that kind of thing. And one of the things I was doing was like those growth charts, which were kind of big for a while. So like to measure your kids on. This was like before I even had kids. But another friend of mine, her name's Emma. Emma's no longer in small business. She actually moved to Georgia with her beautiful family and has 4 babies now. And but very successful business owner, has had countless businesses. They've all been really, really successful. And she was doing the same thing at that time. I was definitely inspired by her, and I copied one of her boards, and she called me out on it.
Nice.
Yeah. And
how'd that make you feel?
I was so defensive. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's what Instagram's all about. Like, I saw your idea and I was inspired by it, so I did it. And at that time, I actually just did it for like a family friend. So I wasn't even being paid for it. And I like didn't really understand why she was so upset about it. Okay. Looking back now, I have learned a lot.
Well, now you're all about the credit. Give credit where it's due.
So that's you have heard me say that. And that is one of those things that like I will admit, like I did it. I copied her for sure. I
You got
loved what
called
she
out,
did. But I didn't learn that right away. I was pissed off. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I didn't copy you, but I did. Like now I totally did.
100%.
And I didn't shout her out. And that's really where really that lesson came from for me is you have heard me say countless times, copying does happen in these small communities. Yeah, we do take other people's ideas and run with them. Yeah. And when you are a small business owner or a creator in any way, that's super challenging. Like it's hard when you put like your thought, your energy, your ideas out there and then somebody goes and copies them and you see that. And we see it because social media is so public. And that piece is really, really challenging as a small business owner. Anybody that I've talked to in the small business community has this happen. I have countless messages from other small business owners that are like, hey, did you see so-and-so? Like they kind of did what I just did. And we have to talk that through. And I do think that's valuable. I do think that's part of that community that I love is sometimes we just have to like vent and share that stuff. But my biggest advice to other small business owners or followers or any of that is like, if you are going to be inspired by something that somebody does, please just shout them out. So when Alicia and I started the Cheesy Pear, we kind of started with this signature like pear on almost every board. We included an actual pear and we cut it a certain way. I saw this on
a full pear.
A full pear. So we've kind of gotten away from it just because it's actually like pretty heavy on a board.
Yeah, I was just thinking it seems a bit excessive. But.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It is actually good because like the way it's cut, it almost becomes like a cracker. So then that's like a great bite. So on bigger boards, we'll do it sometimes, but we're not doing it nearly as much. And I saw that originally on TikTok in like 2020 from a girl in Australia. This girl in Australia has no idea who I am. Yeah. She probably does. I know she doesn't follow me. She doesn't see what I'm doing, but I still feel the need to shout her out because the idea came from her. And I love that. And I think that that's like my one advice to the small business community is if you feel inspired by somebody, that's great, but please just acknowledge it. Yeah.
I see it even on a larger scale too. Like
yeah.
All around.
Yeah. I just think it's good etiquette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good karma.
I feel like I kind of just answered your next question, actually.
Yeah, it seems that.
So it's your turn.
Okay, now you're going to...
I'm jumping in.
Okay, here you go.
It's from a follower.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it one of your followers?
Yes.
Or the Cheesy Pear, yeah?
Cheesy Pear followers. And personal followers, actually.
Sure.
I do know who submitted this one.
Oh, okay.
How and when did we meet? And when did we start dating?
How and when? Okay. I guess it would have been last November.
So actually November 2022.
2022, yeah.
That sounds weirdly a long time ago.
Yeah. So just, a year and a half, I guess.
Yeah.
I had just come back from Sault Ste. Marie. I was working in Sault Ste. Marie. Came back to Kingston for literally 2 or 3 days to pack my apartment up, put it into a storage locker because I was heading to Sarnia to work on the road again for another few months. So yeah, I'm in the Carpenters Union. I work on the road typically. Yeah. So I just got back from the Sioux and we matched on Tinder, which is actually
sponsored by Tinder,
which was kind of surprising.
It is surprising. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I was like, oh shoot, I don't even think she's going to match. And then we did. And then I was like, $10, she doesn't say anything. I don't know. I'm kind of into the whole, I think maybe the girls should, initiate sometimes.
So I was thinking about, because somebody did ask who made the first move. That is another question. And I don't actually remember.
Yeah. I want to say it was me, but.
Do you?
I think so.
Okay. It might have been.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. Anywho, I was packing up. We made plans. I asked if you'd like to grab lunch or something on a Saturday. And
I said I couldn't because I had kids and I didn't have daycare.
Well, and then you also had that event, the charcuterie event. And then I was
so it was the Boho Holiday Market.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then that morning, I realized I didn't actually have to stay at the holiday market. And I messaged and I'm like, if you're still available, I've actually got a couple hours.
And then I'm in the midst of packing up and literally driving to Sarnia.
Yeah.
I was like, I have an hour for you
if
we want to go have a quick brunch or something.
Yeah.
So we went to the Toast and Jam. Thankfully,
and how long was our date?
It turned into 3 hours, I suppose, right?
It did.
Yeah, it was about 3 hours. Yeah. And then it was just see you later kind of thing. But and I even messaged you, I think, what was the next day or within a couple of days, like, hey, like, don't feel any obligation to carry this on. Like, I know how things kind of dwindle out, and that's kind of the name of the game. But we stayed in touch, and it was almost
Just
kind of like a
supernatural
daily
and-
conversation of some sorts, and whether it was morning, night, midday, whatever it was. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was, I think, like, intention wise, I don't think either of us had an intention at all.
Yeah.
Because I knew you were leaving. I was like, whatever. Those of us that have kids know that, like, how nice adult conversation is. And that's how I looked at it, as I was like, sweet, I get to eat with somebody and have an adult conversation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where we left it, but we just kept talking.
Yeah, so that was the point of when we had met.
Yeah.
And then I go away for a few months. There were some other things that kind of tied into the whole
Yeah.
in between our time knowing and chatting. And I went away to Asia for a month.
Yeah.
She's not overly happy about it. I asked her, I mean, I was just traveling, so I'm like, hey, I'm going to disconnect for a month. Like,
Yeah.
how offended would you be if, you know, we weren't talking every day type of thing anymore? Because I'm traveling. I want to be present there. She wasn't overly impressed with it, but understood and respected it enough. And, you know, anyway, came back. We stayed in touch, you know, met up, I think, once or twice. Saw you over the New Year's break.
Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, we kind of just stayed in touch.
Off and on, like over the last year, I guess.
Over the last year until the summer. And then I went away to, went out to Alberta to work for a month and came back. And then I guess I was a little more persistent with it when I was like, hey, do you want to get together? Do you want to get together? And you're like, maybe, which means no. And
I need to let everybody know that Glenn does not flirt, does not know how to flirt. So
something I don't know how. It's just a very, you know.
I don't think you know how.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling myself you don't know how. Not that you're choosing not to, that you don't know how.
Yeah, sure.
So I had a very hard time reading. I didn't know that you were interested. I thought that you were just like a friend and I was just busy. And but yeah, I would say
just
like
filling a void.
mid June, things kind of started back up. And
well, I got
end of June, I guess.
End of June. I got back the end of June.
Yeah. And then was Fast and Furious for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of La La Land. Like, I mean, I worked for those 2 months straight, and then I took the summer off, and you ended up having the summer off, and it just kind of worked. And I decided to stay in Kingston. I've kind of been a nomad.
Yeah.
Prior to that time, I was a nomad for like the last 2 years. Work on the road for a few months, go travel the world for a bit, and then I guess I kind of decided to settle down in Kingston, and we spent the whole summer together with the girls. And I mean, that wasn't right away, but
it was pretty quick.
Yeah, we got
quicker
in there.
than I had ever thought.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is
Sure.
deep.
Is it?
You developed some feelings for me. What were your thoughts when you saw my situation? So single mom, 2 small girls, working full-time student, and then cheesy pair.
Honestly, you know, right off the hop, there's obviously a bit of like an intimidation factor there. It's like, holy smokes, like she's doing her master's, runs a side gig, works full-time, has children, and I'm just like, I'm chilling here. I work on the road and I travel around the world, and like technically homeless, like like truly like a nomad life.
Yeah.
That's where I was at, and that's what I was enjoying doing. I mean, mind you, I did just give up my apartment. All of my belongings were in a storage locker. If I wanted to get a place, I could have, but that just wasn't where my mind was.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, it was like, what would we do? Like, why would it make sense? How would it make sense?
Yeah.
What could you possibly be like attracted to in that whole sense? Like what of my situation appeals to you?
Right.
But I guess on my side of things, it was like, you know, obviously loved meeting you, loved talking with you. There was a physical attraction and like just a good energy, and we just connected well.
Yeah, I think that part
but
was
then,
just super natural for us.
I think I just was caught up in the whole like, right now all I want to do is travel. Am I actually prepared to step into a fatherly role? Like, am I ready to step into a relationship?
Like instant family.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess it kind of did turn into that.
It did,
an instant. Like, I'm sure in other relationships, they kind of ease into it more where kids are involved and the other may not have them. But yeah, that definitely like steered me the other way for a while, because I couldn't make a decision on that. And obviously it's not fair to you or the girls or even myself to make that sudden decision, jump into it, and then it just goes south.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, I'm out. You know, so it took a good over the course of the year of talking, right?
Yeah.
Like even then there was still no
for sure
concrete answer to it.
And I mean, even on my side, like same thing, like super wanting to do this, like attracted to you, feelings for you, all of that.
Sure.
But then like, how does him always working on the road work for us? Like, and then I think there was just like a big shift in June when we actually started like hanging out in person again, where it was just like, I think I don't care. Like, I think we'll just figure it out. And I think that I've been single for 5 years. I think I know how to be single. I think I know how to be alone with the girls. And if you're on the road, like, we can make that work.
Yeah, life is kind of just rolling on.
Not anymore. You're never allowed to leave again.
Yeah. We'll see. Once or twice a year. That's what we've agreed to. Yeah. And traveling has kind of changed a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure we might get into that.
We will. Yeah. All right, you're up.
Is it my turn? Okay. So this is a follower question. It's probably one that's come up a bit for you, I'm sure, or everyone at least thinks about it, is how do you balance everything?
I don't.
From the girls, your own mind, me, cheesy pear.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question with a question.
Do it.
And that is, prior to living with me, did you think I balanced it better than I do? Now that you see the behind the scenes.
Throwing that back on me. Okay. I think you balance it pretty well. That was one thing that, like, right off the hop, you were very, very intentional. Despite how busy and like demanding your schedule would be, like very intentional with where your time was being spent.
That's funny. I actually thought that's how you were going to answer the last question about like, I kind of remember you saying that was like a hesitation for you, was like, where do I even fit in to your schedule? Just because I am so busy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what need do you have of a partner?
Yeah. I don't have a need.
Yeah.
I just have a want.
A want, need, and a want. Eh?
How do I balance it all? I don't know. I do believe that I was born with more energy than most human beings.
Sure.
I do have a lot of energy and I let that energy out through all of these ventures. Also, genuinely, I am very excited about life.
About everything.
Everything. And all of the pots that I can put my hand in. Like, it genuinely fires me up. I get so excited. If anything, that's one of my major life stressors, is like, how am I going to do it all? So that's how I don't know. A lot of what I do, I include the girls in. So like, even prior to you, which is like obviously such a blessing to have an extra set of hands now, but there were so many weekends that like we'd get up Saturday morning, I'd give the girls breakfast, they'd sit on the kitchen floor while I did cheesy pear boards. They would like stand on the counter and try and take photos for me. Like, it's like a family affair for sure. And a lot of these things, definitely include the girls. So I think I'm good at that balance. But otherwise, I'm just somebody that like fills the hours in my day.
Yeah. I feel you're someone that needs to be busy.
I am.
Where
I actually also like full admission, like it's also hugely a coping mechanism. Like I'm aware that when I'm like struggling, I add more onto my plate, and
why not, right?
That helps me. I do think it's somewhat healthy coping, but I will have to like acknowledge your ability to help me rest. You're good at that.
I'm just the complete opposite.
You're very chill. I think you are also, that's actually like my favorite thing about you, is how intentional you are. And I think Glenn is just very intentional about everything that he wants to do. And like, you only do what you want to do. And if you don't want to take out the garbage and you want to lay on the couch, you don't feel guilty about that.
Shamelessly, I don't.
You don't. You're just like, I don't want to, and this is what I need. So that's what I think you're good at, is like, you're aware of your needs, and you know how to fulfill them by yourself. And I think sometimes that's maybe a little bit of a struggle of ours, but I actually think it's a good thing.
I don't know. I feel just so many people have that obligation, like whether it comes to making plans, even like, hey, if last minute, like I don't feel like doing it, like all of a sudden my mind shifts or my mood, like I'm sorry, but I'm going to be better to you not being there, and to myself. So I have no guilt or shame of, hey, I got to cancel. I'm sorry. Like, I don't, taking care of myself, I think for anybody should be the first priority, and like feeling no shame and having to cancel plans or sit on your butt and do nothing for a day. Like, that's what you need sometimes. And
you're good at that.
It's totally okay. And I truly just love sitting there being with myself. You know, I'm sitting there stretching or breathing or something, like whatever it is.
Yeah, you're usually moving in some way.
Yeah. But it doesn't always need to be go, go, go. And I don't know. I just don't feel the need to fill my time as much as other people, and that's all right too.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, I
think we balance each other well that way.
Yeah. I mean, I just sit there and I'm like, holy smokes, here we go again, right? But
yeah,
it's you keep me busy too, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's something that we're actually like in the midst of figuring out as we like have
the balance of it all.
And like me being okay, you being okay with me being busy while you're not, and vice versa. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, like, do I feel obligated to sit on the couch with him? And then sometimes I'm like, no, actually what I need right now is to like be doing my stuff. And just that balance, I think we're like moving into that groove right now, being really okay with that, which I think took a month.
Yeah, it took a bit of time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I was away at school and away at work. I just got back from Sault Ste. Marie again and, you know, kind of jumping into it again and figuring it out. But
lots of transitions.
Yeah, a lot of transitions for sure over the last 6 months, I suppose.
Yeah, truly.
Okay. So what do you do for yourself that brings you joy between your motherhood and the entrepreneurial side of Darcy?
It's a good question. I think this like a lot comes up a lot when we talk about self-care and how self-care doesn't have to be outside of your job or your responsibilities. And sometimes it is really like cup filling to do Cheesy Pear. And sometimes it is really cup filling to spend time with my kids. And I think a lot of people feel like it has to be exclusive of that, which I don't believe it does. But if we are going to talk exclusive of that, I still feel like creating is definitely something that fills my cup, and creating outside of Cheesy Pear. So like I like to paint sometimes. I like to bake sometimes. Like
just made a sweet cake.
Yeah. How much did you eat last night, Glenn?
I could have eaten it all, but at least half of it for sure.
At least half of a cake last night. Yeah.
Unreal.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. I enjoy reading. I enjoy music. I enjoy podcasts. Lots of those kind of things that, I think.
Started doing some yoga.
Yeah. Glenn has got me into yoga recently and I have really been enjoying that. That's the other thing outside of motherhood and entrepreneurship is like this relationship. Like it brings me a lot of joy, and that's something that I haven't had in a really long time. And I think that, it's hugely like self-caring for me.
Yeah.
My turn.
Okay.
Would you prefer me to have my old schedule, a more classic 9 to 5? Do you have any preference?
I don't think so. It don't really matter to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing what you enjoy doing, and that's what I'd prefer you to be doing.
Yeah.
Working 9 to 5 kind of sucks. Like I don't working 9 to 5.
Yeah, I think the flexibility has been really nice for us, like with the girls even too, and just like I get to walk them to school sometimes, which I haven't ever been able to do, and little things like that I think is like a nice makeup for our situation. Yeah, 9 to 5. I don't know. It gets boring. I agree.
So
I did it for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. This is my turn. All right. You're grabbing grapefruit girls, which by the way, I've asked Darcy to ask you for a men's line. That would be pretty cool. We love sweats.
Glenn did put on my cropped hoodie one day.
It looked pretty good. No? Okay.
I would rather a men's line for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm only asking because we went to Aerie the one day and I had to buy some female sweats, but they were
pocketless,
but like amazingly soft.
They're unreal.
Yeah, unreal. So,
we bought both. Like he got a pair, I got a pair. And
so we were grabbing grapefruit. I've seen it around town. I've seen it on the volleyball courts. Get a men's line going. Yeah. It'd be cool.
Okay. What's their question?
Anyway, sorry. Yeah. The people want to know how you knew it was time to leave your 9 to 5 and what was the process of you getting there?
You were a little bit involved in this process. I definitely.
Oh, I told you just quit.
Yeah, but okay. So this is fun fact about me. I can be, you're going to disagree with me right now. I already know it. I can be very spontaneous in small things. Yeah. So like I can decide it's kind of different, skewed, but like I could decide this morning, like, oh, I want to do a podcast episode today. Like call Joe and be like, hey, can we do this? Like I'm like super quick decisions for those kind of things. Like, hey, you want to go away this weekend? Like, let's do it. Like I can totally do that kind of thing. But when it comes to like major life decisions, I I struggle with that kind of decision, and I need to talk to so many people. I need to like talk it through, process it, think about it, write about it, talk out loud in my car by myself about it. Like so many things.
Sit in the driveway for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this decision was not an easy one. I would say for the last 5 years, I wanted a change. Honestly, probably even more than that. Like I remember talking to my dad about this. Like I got a municipal job at the age of 17 and worked a 9 to 5. And
was it 17 though?
My first with the city was 17. 18, I guess, because it was my summer job between, and then I came back. I didn't quite finish my undergrad yet.
But like when you actually started your full-time 9 to 5 after school, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, before I was actually done. And then I did quit and moved to BC, came back and got the job back. So like I was within like my primary, like my resume is mostly municipal employment. So classic 9 to 5 office job. Loved my clients, still love my clients. It was like an easy transition into what I'm doing now that way, because I love that part. I don't love the politics. I don't love the logistics. I don't love the inability to be praised for the work that you do. It was a union environment, that kind of thing. And then truthfully, I had some like pretty crappy stuff happen related to, I guess, a lot of my health issues over the last year and just how that was all handled.
Between work and the health issues.
It just was not handled super well. And I was done. I needed a really, really big change. That was a super hard decision for me, again, because the logistics, which that's maybe another difference between us, is like I am very logical in those ways. I need the practical pieces to work out, whereas you're pretty good at like jump in, see what happens. You'll figure it out. Yeah. I felt like maybe I could have made that decision prior to kids a little bit faster, but feeling like I'm solely responsible for them. I also had my health issues and I was giving up pension and benefits, like all of that. So I was off work for a couple of months, and then came to the end of that period, was supposed to go back to work, and was like, no, I know that it's over for me. So made that decision. I feel like this is just a classic decision lesson, is that every time you actually make the decision, you feel 100 times better. And like, I have not thought about it since. So that's how I got there. I do want to clarify, because I guess I briefly mentioned this. I didn't quit my full-time job to do Cheesy Pear full-time. So it was also a really good transition period for me, starting my practicum hours through school. So it wasn't, I guess, like an exclusive decision to leave my 9 to 5 for my small business. That wasn't the full deciding factor.
No, it was, you were just over it. And there was something better.
And I knew, like, I'm grateful that I had something like the Cheesy Pear to fall back on. And that has like financially been supporting me for the last few months, but it's definitely not like a full-time income.
No, for sure.
All right, Glenn, you have to pick in order: yoga, volleyball, or cheese.
I don't even know why cheese is on there, to be honest with you.
Cheesy Pear. Come on, this is a follower question.
I guess if we were speaking like right now, I think yoga would be number one, but truly volleyball, I guess, would be number one. It's always just been a passion and enjoyment for me. So it'd be volleyball, then yoga, and then cheese. I guess cheese.
Cheese is last for you. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. The next question was who made the first move, so we'll skip that one because we kind of covered it, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
The people want to know. Oh, this is embarrassing. Something that want you to tell them something that maybe people don't know about me, that you have learned like behind the scenes. Maybe something weird or different. Maybe like as we were getting to know each other.
What if it's something that I don't even know?
Well, how would you know it then?
Well, maybe it's something I'm waiting for. Something that they wouldn't know about you.
Yeah.
It's hard because you share so much.
Okay. So maybe that's what they mean is like what I put out on social media, and then what you now know living with me. Or like when we first started dating and you're like, this girl's a weirdo because of this.
I think you were much more tame when we first started dating.
Right. Than I am now, or than I show on social media?
Yeah, I think I definitely bring more of the goofiness
Oh yeah, I just don't think you've seen that yet.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's what I mean. That's something I haven't personally seen, like full on Darcy,
like being a complete weirdo. Yeah,
but like you'll see me.
Yeah, this morning, Adie and I had a full concert in the car.
Yeah.
And I was pretending to be Shania Twain and Alicia Keys.
Shania Twain, there you go.
And I actually thought, I was like, Glenn has never seen this side of me. Okay. Do you want to know what I think of when I read this question? When we first started seeing each other, I have a list on my phone of like over 96 questions.
Oh yeah.
That I asked you.
Yeah.
And so like would sit there and like some are super deep, some are super surface level, but like literally every time we'd get in the car, I'd be like, all right, I got my questions for you. And like, this is how I got to know Glenn.
Yeah,
and
just trying to listen to music.
That's a little weird, but any of my single friends, if you want my list of questions, DM me and I'll send them your way.
Yeah. Could help you in the long run.
Yeah.
Who knows? Truly, off the top of my head, nothing kind of comes to mind.
Okay.
There's things that I'm still waiting for. I think nothing has really surprised me.
Okay.
I guess coming into it, you kind of know just the craziness and the business of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have anything.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's okay. It's my turn. This one is, I guess, between you and I.
All right.
What drew you to me? I know it was a really big decision for you to welcome someone into your life, into the girl's life. And so what is it about me or about us that you feel works and that,
Yeah, I think that intentionality piece is so big. I think that's definitely like if somebody asks me what drew me to you, it's definitely your intentionality. I think that you're so clear on what it is that you want and you don't do what you don't want. And I think that was really to
a fault sometimes.
Yeah, honestly, maybe to a fault sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that you're very independent, individual. And I think maybe that's where the fault piece comes in, is that once it's like partnership, then that sort of transitions. But I do still really like that about you. I think that's like a cool piece, something that I admire in you. Yeah, and then I think there was like a lot at the very beginning that I just like could see it fit. I think that I think a lot of it is like a feeling. Like I literally think I just had a feeling that I was like, yeah, this like makes sense to me. Way more than any like dating I'd done previously. And then there's definitely like a few key moments that in the past summer that I was like those are those moments that like I think I'll always know. And it was like something transitioned in that for me. And like some of it was seeing you with the girls and a lot of it was seeing you with the girls. And I was just like, it makes sense. Like the girls are obsessed with you. Yeah. But you also are like super respectful to them, super honest with them. It's not showy. And I think that I see that a lot in these kind of situations, where somebody has kids and the other doesn't. I think it's like almost like an act. And I just never felt that from you. I never feel that from you. Yeah. Sometimes I wish you'd act.
Yeah. That's one thing you asked me a question, I gave you the answer that's on my mind.
That's kind of what I mean. Like the intentionality, the authenticity, like, you're very
for sure
who you are. Yeah. But also understanding, like, I think you're also willing to grow. Like, I don't think you're like that I am who I am and I'm never going to change. I think you're like, I am who I am. And I'm like, there is still room for growth. Yeah. Which sure. I think that we're the same on that piece. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe we'll step back to the business side of things real quick.
Okay.
So what is like one huge win for you that whether it was like you and Alicia or just, the last couple of years yourself?
Couple things stand out. I would say booking my first grazing table for a wedding, and it was like 150 guests. That was like, felt so cool to me. And it was on my birthday a couple years ago. It was like, obviously a huge invoice got sent, and it was just like, okay, this is cool. Like I actually am making a lot of money from this. And I was excited to do a grazing table. Like that's probably my favorite things to do. It's just a huge board and I get to really be creative with it. And I enjoy that. A couple years ago, Alicia and I did a Mother's Day event with a local gal named Kelly. And we were featured on the news. So that was kind of exciting. And then a personal win that I feel like is like on the horizon right now that feels really cool is graduating. I think I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and like how close I am to that, how big of a win that will be when I look at like the work that I put in over the last 3 years, and like how many nights I was up till like 1 a.m. after the girls were in bed and doing 3-hour bedtimes with them, and then going to write papers. And like when I really look at that, I'm like, that's something I'm definitely proud of.
No, and that's what I told you. Like, it's so admirable. Like, whether you're working your full time, you're doing Cheesy Pear, you're in school, and you have the girls full time. Like, just insane to be doing it pretty well all on your own. Obviously,
I think we like we're not like proud of ourselves enough. Like, you don't like,
I think I've told you that handful
you have,
of times.
Yeah, no, you really have. And I think it's like, I think I'm in this phase right now where I'm like 7 weeks left of school, and I'm like realizing that I'm actually going to get a degree from this. And like, and then thinking back, like, oh my God, remember like last summer and I did this, and like, remember that time, like Adia woke up and I was writing a paper while breastfeeding her while like, and I'm just like, it is kind of, I think you almost like black all those things out as you're doing them. It's almost like that little survival mode, and then you're in it, and you're like, I'm coming to the end of it, and it just is like, wow, okay, I did do that. So that feels cool.
We'll have to go celebrate that.
We will.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just about out of time, so I'm trying to see, maybe quick, we'll do that next little bit, and then we might have to do a part 2 on this one. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. So aside from Cheesy Pear, obviously being in school, therapy, can you talk to us about the therapy side of Darcy?
Yeah, I did have a couple of questions come through that. So it so prior to Cheesy Pear, like entrepreneur life, that sort of thing, I was a case manager for the Ontario Works program. We're not officially counselors, but there is a lot of counseling that happens in those meeting rooms. And I absolutely love that. It was something that I think I have like a natural ability to do. Really, really valued it. It's funny because I was thinking back the other day to in high school, I did a couple times be like, I think I want to be a therapist. Like, I think I would be good at it. I think like I could imagine myself doing that someday, but I don't know. I never really like looked at the schooling for it and how to do that and all of that. So I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, I definitely imagined myself in this scenario when I was like much younger. So I am a registered psychotherapist, qualifying. And we'll be graduating end of April. I am completing my practicum hours, can see clients right now, have been able to since September. And I'm working at the Wellness Within clinic with Kyla Balderson. Absolutely love it. It feels like an amazing fit. And I am starting my own business within that, called the Solace Studio. And really just care really deeply about like connection, care, compassion, and providing that to my clients. So go ahead and follow that page. I'm kind of starting it up now. It is very different from the Cheesy Pear page. The Cheesy Pear page is pretty fun and exciting, and that page is a little bit more serious and different side of me for sure. But I'd love your support over there, and probably be registering that business in the next month or so, really starting that up, and full time at the end of April, I guess.
That's the goal. Yeah.
That's the goal. That's where that comes. Something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Do you think you're going to kind of settle into a niche, like with therapy, like certain demographic or?
I don't think specifically. I do think it's really a passion of mine to continue to be able to offer accessible therapy. So I, as of right now, through my practicum hours, can offer a pay what you can. So I do have a really super, super reduced rate therapy, like less than $45 an hour, which is so crazy, but so needed. And I absolutely love that. I would like to continue that in my own practice. And kind of have to work out the logistics, like how often, how many spaces I can offer for that. But that's something that I would love to continue to do. So that's definitely a demographic that I'm really like passionate about. I have been working with younger ages recently and actually having a lot of fun with that, more than I expected. But I think going into this, honestly, I want to work with men. I think that men don't seek therapy as much as they need to. I believe that societally we have a lot of issues with masculinity, and masculinity and emotions don't really mesh. I feel very passionate about that, and I know we've had many conversations about that. You know how excited I get about that niche, I guess. So that's something I would love to work with, and offering up walk talk therapy too. So getting outside the office and going for walks. We might have to do a whole episode on the therapy business, but there's a little taste of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Little teaser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I've got a question for you. We're going to jump ahead a little bit.
Sure.
What's it been like dating someone in a creative entrepreneurial space? And I feel like, okay, and specifically thinking how scattered my brain can be. The ideas are always coming in the mess of the kitchen on order days.
We need to get like an oversized recycling bin.
Yeah, the recycling is insane.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's been fine. Like, I don't mind a busy...
You don't get overwhelmed like I do, so you don't really mind.
I come from like a household of, 4 kids. It's busy. There's things everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like where it's messy and such. Like not that I enjoy living in a mess, but like I like that it's like it feels lived in.
Yeah.
Things are happening.
Okay, that makes me feel good. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, this house is a mess. He's gonna judge me.
No, I don't care. I mean, I'm usually trying to help clean it up anyway. But I think it's good, and you're busy and you're happy doing what you want. So and I don't mind chipping in a hand here or there. Yeah. I get the benefit. I get to try all the cheeses and meats, and so that's cool too.
You've been doing some deliveries for me recently.
Yeah, running some deliveries.
Yeah, I actually think I have one for you this afternoon, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm actually really curious about this one. How do you feel about social media? So my followers see you out there supporting me. Glenn is super supportive, not only of me on social media, but also a lot of my friends.
Yeah, trying.
Through like your likes, commenting, all of that. But you don't use social media yourself.
No, I'm not
so
big
how
on
do
it.
you feel about it?
In terms of you?
First, in terms of me, yeah.
Honest, well, off the hop, like I thought you just shared way too much.
Yeah.
And for me, coming from like, I don't know, maybe that was a bit of a selfish thing, but you'd share something with me about the girls where like I would only know about it. Like it's kind of inside for me and you, like, and then all of a sudden it's shared on social media. And then for me, it took away like the meaning to it or how genuine it was maybe. And maybe that was a little selfish of me, but like that kind of bothered me at first. But I get like that's just who you are and that's what you like to do. And then,
I feel like you've like
get over it, I guess.
Come around to it maybe like the whole thing, just that like I'm an open, first of all, that's just like personality difference between us.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm an open book. I would like meet somebody in real life and tell them everything about me. You wouldn't.
No.
And so I think that's a difference. And then social media is just like an avenue for me to keep doing that.
On different, how many platforms? But
multiple platforms now. I'm managing at least 3 social media accounts. So that's a major difference between the two of us, like for sure.
For what it is, like social media is great. Like obviously small business, whatever, what you might be doing, I get it. And people want to be expressive. I guess me personally, even from like early age, like Facebook, like I've never even had a Facebook status. You know what I mean? I've just never been like that to share myself. Like if you know me, you get to know me, then you get.
Glenn is what we call a social media creep because you have social media.
Yeah.
You creep other people, but you don't share.
I wouldn't say creep.
I'm saying it lightly.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's a different term we could use.
I'll come up with something.
Yeah.
Social media stalker.
It's probably worse, but anyway.
Yeah. We need to at least get a profile picture up there, okay?
Yeah, but for what? For what?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Anyway, I enjoy it for what it is. I look at what I like to look at, support people. Been trying more lately.
Yeah, you're really good at that.
Trying. So, do I still think you share too much of yourself? For sure. And I think like just the process of and how much time it takes to like, whether you have 1 or 3 different profiles that you're trying to create content for. And I just think it's crazy, but if that's what you want to do, and if I have to sit there while you're on your phone for a couple hours, I guess that's what we do.
I've actually feel that I've been on my phone significantly less since you've been in the house.
Yeah, maybe because you feel like you need to. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like I can be more present when somebody else is there. Like, you know, I have a reason to not be on my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. All right. Any last lingering questions you have for me?
For you? No.
No, you're good.
No, I think
You've got all your questions answered.
Yeah.
What do you think is the greatest strength of our relationship so far, and in what ways do we balance each other?
Okay. The greatest
therapy session.
Yeah. I always feel like I'm in therapy.
Oh, stop.
The greatest strengths. I think it's been pretty good how we can, you know, maybe there's a disagreement or me kind of just being in my logical mind and you and you're emotional and I'm not really seeing it. You have a pretty good, you know, way of bringing me back around and trying to, at least, you know, attempting to have me see your side of things. And I know I struggle with that, but for us to be able to come back around to it and sort it out and discuss it more and get into it. And then,
I think we have like pretty good communication overall.
Yeah, I guess communication in general, is pretty solid. And
also think just that like baseline respect for each other where it's like we can, you know, like when there is a disagreement, it's not like the foundation of the relationship that's being disagreed, or like it's not you disagreeing with me disrespectfully. It's like we still respect each other, and I think that's like how we're getting through it now.
I think also just us being able to manage the dynamic of the relationship has been pretty good. We did kind of joke our like introduction to this relationship was very not real life because neither of us were working. We were like in PEI, we were on the West Coast, we were like all over, and every day we got to like have adventures, and so we kept kind of reminding each other this isn't real life. Like it's gonna get a little messier, it's gonna get a little more challenging, we're gonna be stressed out, we're gonna be busy. Which like I said has been a transition, but we've been getting through it. Okay. Is that juicy enough for everybody? I don't know.
I feel like we have so much more to do, so we honestly might have to do a part 2.
I was honestly expecting like a little more difficult questions from the followers when you mentioned a lot of them were.
There was one that I didn't ask because it's a little racy. I'm not sure if we can put an E on this episode or what. We'll have. Is it an E?
R.
No,
what do you mean E?
Is it an E when people swear, Joe?
Oh
yeah, an E.
An E. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we didn't swear, but if we do a racier episode, we might have to. But yeah, thank you for signing in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for
inviting you on. Somebody did suggest that I have the girls come on and interview me. That might be a shit show, so we'll have to see about that.
A shorter episode.
A much shorter episode, 5 minutes. But yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun. Spice things up a little bit. If you haven't noticed, we're matching. We do this regularly.
I love this sweater.
I have one last question.
Love it.
Yeah, if anyone wants sweaters, we still do. One last question. Glenn, who are you loving following right now? An account that you're loving, or that you have been surprised by, or you've recently found, or...
Cheesy Bear, I guess would be it right there.
All right, there we go. The Solace Studio, he's following that one now. Studio, that's a good one. Okay, cool. All right, thank you so much. XOXO, your friendly neighborhood podcast host.